So I'm not promoting cancel culture here, I'm just saying it's important to acknowledge that guarding our hearts is a commandment too. Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Krupa and I make faith-based content here on YouTube, and I post every single Tuesday and Fridays. So if that is something that you'd be interested in, then please be sure to subscribe and join the tribe, as we say here. I say as we say here, I haven't said that in a hot minute. So in today's video, we are talking about forgiveness/unforgiveness. And if I am real with you, if you've been in this space for a hot minute, you know that I don't like sugarcoating my walk with the Lord. And so if I can be very real with you guys, I sometimes really struggle with this. And so if that sounds like something you also struggle with, then let's talk about it. So let me be real 2.0. I have walked and wrestled with forgiveness for most of my journey with Christ, and that looks like 10 solid years. And so I feel like, if anything, I have first-hand experience in talking about forgiveness and what the Lord has showed me on the way of my journeying, right? So just for some context here, I don't feel like I want to get into any of the nitty-gritty bits and bobs of what I walked through in terms of what I was forgiving people for, only because I feel like when we do that, it somewhat gives a kind of radar of like what is unforgivable or what's forgivable, and I don't mean this video to be that at all. And just to put this huge thing out there, right, forgiveness is never really about the person. I had to really walk out forgiveness without an actual apology or any acknowledgement of what's happened or any acknowledgement of the elephant in the room. I will say, as a whole, what I've learned about forgiveness is that it's hardly ever about the person. It's always about freeing ourselves from the toxicity of holding such animosity or such hurt or such hostile emotions. That's like an overall blanket umbrella finding of mine. And so let's get into the findings that helped me through the forgiving process. So number one is, remember to crawl before you can walk. Remember that baby steps is key. Sometimes I feel like we can just see forgiveness as this big concept that we need to reach straight away, but actually there's great benefit of crawling before we can walk, right? That might be rebuking thoughts, that might be praying for them, it might look like journaling. Just baby steps, whatever those baby steps look like for you, do not disregard them. They're so helpful in just building the bigger puzzle of forgiveness. A lot of the things that I was dealing with had association to my control being stripped of me, right? And so it was almost like reclaiming that control back to me, that I'm gonna just take this pace of forgiving as slowly or as fast as I need it to be, right? Just that consciousness of controlling my walk of forgiveness was so helpful for me. Because I think with forgiveness, right, because when we come to know the Lord and we repent and we receive forgiveness, it's such a wholesome transition. And so we almost envision that our own process of forgiving people will be as smooth and as wholesome as this transition that we've just been through. But actually, there's something beautiful in acknowledging that Jesus can do that and I cannot. I'm gonna have to take it baby steps at a time and be conscious about me forgiving, as opposed to deep diving into forgiveness and actually find that I haven't actually dealt with anything, right? Does that make sense? Are you with me? So next point is creating boundaries. I'm so big on this. I was big on that before Zari, but now that Zari's here, I'm huge on this. I feel like as Christians, we feel like, oh my gosh, I might not be loving, or oh my gosh, I feel so guilty about not entertaining the foolishness of this person. But actually, Proverbs 4:26, I might be misquoting that, but I'll put it on the screen here. It tells us not to stoop down to the level of those that are being foolish, lest we be called foolish ourselves. So actually creating boundaries, creating fences, telling people where you begin and where you end, and telling them where they begin and they end for you is helpful, right? It keeps you from foolishness. It keeps you from the negative impact that they might have. I feel like boundaries as Christians is absolutely okay. Come on, guys. So boundaries was very important when I was walking through forgiving others, because I needed to make sure that I didn't feel further stripped of control because of X, Y, and Z person, right? And so that looked like turning down events. That looked like reinstating standards that I want to see in a relationship. That looked like not accepting certain things. And so it was very important for me to healthily assess my situation and how I can make those boundary lines clear again. I think this is so important. If you're going to take anything from this video, it will be this. Too often than not, we blur the lines around relationships, right? Just because you're walking down the road of forgiving somebody does not mean that they can come and vandalize your home again. And when I say your home, I mean your space, your inner space. But we are too often blurring the lines between, like, yes, forgiving someone and loving them, but not letting them into our hearts too much, or not letting them into our home to vandalize again, right? The Bible talks about it, about guarding your heart. What does that mean? It means this very thing. There's so many interpretations of it, but my interpretation is that it's to guard your heart. Draw the fences around your heart. Let people know that they are forgiven, but they do stay at a distance, because until there's repentance and changed behavior, as far as you're concerned, it's unsafe for them to be in your house. And so outside of the house is where they shall be. So I'm not promoting cancel culture here. I'm just saying it's important to acknowledge that guarding our hearts is a commandment too. So if you are enjoying this video thus far, I am here to interrupt the video to say, like this video, comment down below, share it with a sister or a friend that needs to hear about forgiveness. And so without further ado, let's get back into the video. But this one right here, sis, hear it. Clean your ears, hear it. I found that treating them as myself helped a lot. This is from the book Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. It's such a good book. This is my main takeaway. So C.S. Lewis, in the chapter of loving your enemies, I believe, he draws an example of the Germans and the Jews, right, and their history. And he says, how does someone walk through forgiving something like that, right? I'm not going to justify that chapter. You should definitely read the whole book, or at least read the chapter. But he essentially says, if you want to forgive somebody, if you want to love on your enemy, which is a commandment unto us Christians, then do this. Treat them as yourself. Walk as if you have forgiven them. Act as if you have forgiven them. Clothe yourselves as if you have actually forgiven them. And before you know it, you'll be walking in freedom. You'll be walking in wholesome forgiveness. He just put it in such a beautiful way that I'm just not doing it justice. But he's essentially saying, like, if you want to walk through the path of forgiveness, pray for them as if you pray for yourself. And he drew to this very thing that literally keeps me on my toes in this walk of Christ. He said, when you sin, or when you wrong somebody, or when you do something that you just don't like yourself for, you don't start to say you hate yourself. You don't start to pray that the fire of God will come on you or burn your tents, and it's like you don't start to pray that all your plans and everything you put your hands to will not succeed, will not flourish. You don't pray like that for yourself. And so he was saying that loving your enemies does not mean to become friends or to become best buddies. It just means to have the same reflection of humanity unto them as you do yourself when you do something that annoys you, or when you do something that just irritates you about yourself, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, that is genius right there. That is God sent. That is wisdom. I'm taking that on. And this literally changed the game for me, because I remember for so long I could not pray for my enemies, and actually treating them in my prayers, especially as I would myself, like, Lord, help me. I can see that I keep doing this. I can see that I really struggle with this. Like, help me to understand it better. Help me to understand myself better, so that I can understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that I can grow from it. Once I started to pray like that for my enemies, it really just released me from having that tension on my shoulders of constantly having this animosity with people. Like, it's just long, okay? And so this one tip from Mere Christianity changed the game for your sis. Just saying, let's keep it real here. I don't want to say I'm like at this height of perfection and I'm this angelic being that loves to forgive people and forgive straight away. No, I'm still human. I struggle with it here and there, depending on how hurt I am or how much in my feelings I am. But the generic thing is that I do try to constantly strive to forgive, constantly strive to let go of things, so that I'm freeing myself from it, right? And so that I can really give my focus to what needs my focus. So with that being said, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you're encouraged. I hope that you do find wholesome forgiveness if you haven't found it yet. And I hope that these tips will help you build those building blocks to the bigger picture of forgiveness in your life. And so as always, I am leaving a prayer in the comment section down below for you to use as a guide in your own time to modify as you please. And if you have enjoyed this video, then make sure you check out the other videos that are like this, and make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment down below, and you share it with a sister or a friend that you think needs to hear about forgiveness. And so I shall see you in the next video. Bye!